Here comes tomorrow, shining with promise, bright, brave new worlds for you to explore. If you don't like it, just hang around, cause tomorrow's tomorrow will reset the score. You can fight to turn the tide, try to rewrite, or just take flight, but you can't change the simple fact that it's where all your hopes are hiding. Here comes tomorrow.
Hello, homos, sapiens, and superior alike. My name is Josephine Riesman.
And my name is Becca Petunia.
And we are two trans women here to talk about non-binary writer Grant Morrison's Turn of the Millennium comics run with the X-Men and what it tells us about finding joy in a world that hates and fears us. In other words, here comes tomorrow. That was a good one. I like that.
Yeah, we
one.
did great.
We did great with that one.
Yeah, we're gonna get it. The last episode, we're gonna be so in sync that it's just gonna sound like one voice, one collective shout.
Right.
Wait,
we'll be
no,
like,
that's fraught now.
Collective shout. Yes. Anyway, today, what are we talking about, Becca? What issue are we talking about?
Well, we've actually only got one issue again today. It's a one-shot called Of Living and Dying, which was New X-Men number 127, with obviously writing by Grant Morrison, and this is one with art by John Paul Leon and inking by Bill Sienkiewicz. We're getting a little out of order here. We actually talked a lot about how much we love John Paul Leon and Bill Sienkiewicz's art in a future episode we already recorded.
But we can talk about it as much as we like, because boy, it's great.
But first, my job is to go over a little summary here, and this is a short Xorn-focused story, and I'm going to pronounce it Xorn until someone tells me that it's not pronounced Xorn. But this is a short Xorn-focused story where Xorn is with the X-Men helping stop riots in Manhattan's Lower East Side, and then needs to investigate and try to help stop a mysterious mutant monster, although there's no word for monster in any mutant dictionary.
Yeah, whatever that means. Yeah, but yes.
In the Lower East Side. Xorn, we also learn a lot about Xorn's relationship with Charles Xavier and Xorn's sort of view on the world at large. Really, this is just our way to learn more about Xorn, a character who we've really just met.
And he helps out a monster, quote unquote, this very Kirby-esque creature that seems to have been a young boy who mutated. And there's a very sad ending to this story. I mean, the very ending is a little bit of hope, but the climax is this young mutant who just needs his medicine, bursts out of the building that he lives in and gets, shot to death by the cops. It's a very, like much in this Grant Morrison run, my reread of this really struck home how dark this run is. It's really getting at the essence of the fear and hate equation that has been in the motto for the X-Men for so long. But Xorn is a healer. And this is the other thing that's key here, is that Xorn's goal is not blow him up, not use my magic star powers to explode everything. It's to heal people. Now, this is, of course, made problematic by the fact that we don't, I guess it's Magneto at this point. Maybe not. I don't know.
I think you could make an argument that he is Magneto in this one.
I would argue that he is, but
his healing powers do not work once. So
oh, very good point. Yes.
But anyway, we're getting way ahead of things because Josie, you've got a very special guest to introduce.
We do. We have a wonderful guest today, a friend of mine who I have known for a good long while on the interwebs, but have never podcasted with before, and I'm so happy to have her on the pod. That is Rui Zhong. Rui Zhong is a freelance writer and policy analyst based out of the Washington, D.C. metro area, and quite insightful about the old comic books. And we are so excited to have you on, Ray. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on the pod, Josie and Becca. I'm really excited to talk about this issue and about comics in general.
That's what we are looking to talk about. So we are on the same page. Let me ask you, Do you remember when you were first exposed to the X-Men?
Gosh,
What was your first X-Men memory?
maybe like occasional, like casual reruns of X-Men Evolution in the 2000s.
Yeah, you and me both. X-Men Evolution was my starter.
So
What'd you think of X-Men Evolution? I never watched it. I was an X-Men 92 kid because I'm slightly older, I guess, but yeah.
I thought it was really interesting. I didn't really understand what the deal is with that Toad kid. But
Yes.
like I like the character design and I thought Rogue was pretty cool in that one if I recall correctly.
Rogue is really cool in that one. They do some fun stuff.
And she remains really cool to this day.
I would agree with
I don't know. I haven't read like the entire backlog, so if she does some not cool stuff,
Oh, it's just
I
plenty of not
know.
cool stuff, but that's fine. Like the essence of the character of Rogue is somebody that I think we can all get behind her best self. But it was just funny. I was just watching an episode of X-Men 92 where Rogue and Magneto were talking about their checkered pasts and second chances and everything. So that's one of the essences of X-Men stories. And
hmm
I'm curious, how has your comics reading evolved over time and where are you at with it these days?
So I kind of sort of casually dipped into comics like a couple times over the years, checking out stuff like Miss Marvel, um,
As in the Kamala Khan Ms. Marvel?
the Kamala Khan Miss Marvel, and
Yes.
occasionally I think one of my friends is super into Runaways, so I read like
Oh,
a decent
yeah.
amount of that backlog. But recently I've been diving into a lot of Lee and Kirby era Fantastic Four with some modern issues as well. Just the art is so stunning and the
Isn't
character
it?
writing like
Ray,
is formative.
Ray,
I
you're
know.
speaking my language because
Same.
as our listeners know, I used to run a Lee and Kirby Fantastic Four Tumblr blog back in the day. I made it through the first 217 issues of Fantastic Four before eventually life got in the way, you know. But
Wow.
yeah, that stuff is so good.
It is. And it's like the template for much more so than X-Men in that period. It's setting a template. Like what's so interesting to me is you go back and you read the X-Men issues from that contemporaneous period, and they're like, I don't want to say they're garbage, but they're like not any way like what we end up thinking of the X-Men as, you know. But I love that you're reading, Ray, the FF comics because that was a comic that like from the beginning, relative beginning, kind of figured out what it was and what it wanted to be. And in the 60s, really transformed comics and laid the groundwork for something like what X-Men became, which is this bickering group of all too human individuals who have
Yeah.
massive powers, you know, and you add in the element of being hated and feared by virtue of your birth. But
I was gonna say, like, I'm really curious, and I'm sure there's comics that are aware of this, but there's so much richness in the character of Ben Grimm or the Thing that is runs
indeed,
really parallel because he cannot just like blend in,
he
just
can't pass. He
but
doesn't
he
pass. Yeah.
yeah, and like this sort of parallel in how he lives and how a lot of mutants live. It's really fascinating, and I kind of wish more modern writers took like a serious look at it. There's a lot of good material there.
I completely agree. It's unfortunate. I mean, I haven't seen this. Did you see the Fantastic Four movie yet?
I did.
I have not seen it.
Is
You
it good?
feel free to spoiler us. We didn't see it yet.
Also, by the time this episode drops, it'll have been out for like 2 months.
Yeah, so yeah.
As a comics nerd for the Fantastic Four, I really enjoyed that movie, like because they paid a lot of attention to that family dynamic that we discussed and
Yeah.
how like these people like there's a lot of friction involved in their relationship with one another, but at the same time fundamentally, what a lot of people don't understand about the Fantastic Four is at the end of the day, they will sort of, get their stuff together and work together and fundamentally, live with one another. Like, even in really bad conflicts, they try to work it out and, like, resolve the problem because of this very deep well of love and respect that they have for one another. And that's something I think the movie got really accurate. So it's also a big homage to Jack Kirby, which always good to see.
I'm glad they did that. The people have been telling me that. I always feel awkward with the way Marvel talks about Kirby, given how poorly he was treated by Marvel. But I'm glad he's getting the front page here because for so long it was Stan Lee presents Stan Lee and Jack Kirby doing Fantastic Four when, as pretty much any serious student of comics can tell you, Jack Kirby was the main creative engine behind the Fantastic Four. Not saying Stan didn't contribute anything, but it's nice that
Yeah.
he's getting his flowers.
Even the universe they live in is numbered after his birthday, August 28th. So
Was that right? I didn't even
Oh,
think
no
about
kidding. The
that.
movie is
828. There you go.
828.
I even knew that was his birthday and I hadn't done that math. Okay, there you go.
now you know.
Now I know.
It's important to remember that Jack Kirby created, like the plot and characters and the way that the world works, and Stan Lee wrote that the Thing likes to eat pickles. So really, they're about equally important in terms of
Hey, I will give you this. I will give you
Without
this.
Jack Kirby, we wouldn't have any of like the massive world building and scale
Yeah.
and all of those things. And without Stan Lee, we might not know that the Thing likes to eat pickles.
We might not know that Sue Storm was worried about her hair in a given battle. We might just think she was going into battle. But Stan was there to remind us that she was a little worried that her hair might fall out of place while she did it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, moving on.
For more on that, read Josie's book.
Yeah, for more on that, read True Believer, The Rise and Fall of Stan Lee.
It's very good.
Thank you, Ray. I really appreciate that. It meant a lot when you read it. But anyway, so let's talk about On Living and Dying.
Well, actually, before we talk about On Living and Dying,
please.
So Ray, have you read more? Like, how much of the Grant Morrison New X-Men run have you read?
And there's no wrong answers here. Just be honest with us.
Well, the wrong answer is none, because I was really hoping you would read
You'd at least
Living
read
and
this
Dying.
issue. Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
I was told suggested to read this issue to talk about the central character. Morrison's X-Men, I read around the suggested chapter a little bit, and I guess my impression of it is, wow, everybody's kind of going through it.
Yes, you're exactly right.
Ray, so when you say you read around, did you just read the one issue before and the one issue after?
A couple of ones after.
Okay, a couple ones after. Okay, good. You didn't read the one before, because I cannot imagine jumping in on number 126.
Yeah, a lot going on there. Yeah.
Yeah, where you've got to deal with, opposite ghosts.
There's a cosmic Wario that Charles Xavier has in this storyline, but it's not really important to the issue we're talking about today.
No, which is why, but I'm just glad you didn't read it.
I do love the concept of a cosmic Wario, especially if there's a cosmic Waluigi as well.
That's what I'm waiting for, because they gave us the cosmic Wario of Charles Xavier, and now I need the cosmic Waluigi of Magneto, I guess.
Yes.
But that's my pitch. Marvel, if you're listening.
I have a slight sort of a non sequitur, and that is
Please.
Waluigi only exists because Wario needed a doubles tennis partner.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Wow. That's
Yes.
rude to Waluigi. I like to think that
His first appearance is the N64 Mario Tennis. He has.
I believe you, but I like to believe that Wario and Waluigi were just meant to be together, and that Waluigi, if he didn't exist, we would have to create him, there's just a gap in the world where Waluigi should be. Anyway, where were we? Now I forgot what we were talking about.
Well, now we're talking about Of Living and Dying and
Great.
what Ray thought of Living and Dying.
Yeah, give us your overall appreciation or lack thereof of this issue.
So I took a look at this chapter, and yeah, if I didn't know anything that was going in, you could not have had me guess that this person was a Magneto, a clone Magneto, whatever situation it's in. Also, it took me a couple tries to really understand that they were trying to make a Chinese character, but I mean, it's at least listen, this is Marvel writing an Asian person, so it could have been worse.
Yes, it could have been. Yeah.
So, Ray, that's a great point, because this was really my first exposure to Xorn as well, because the comic that introduces him and establishes that the Chinese government kept him locked in a basement for 25 years so they could use him as a super weapon.
Yeah.
That comic, I somehow did not read until.
Let's blame who deserves to be blamed. Marvel Unlimited has a bad sorting.
Marvel Unlimited put that comic as part of a different series because it was an annual. So I did not read it until Josie was like, hey, have you read this issue that we're talking about tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, I guess I gotta read that. So the thing is, like, you're right. Certainly there's no signifiers that Xorn is Magneto, and we've talked a lot about that, but yeah. I'm curious that it took you a bit to realize that Xorn was supposed to be Chinese, because
when did that kick in? When did you first notice, like, oh, they're trying to do a Chinese thing here?
I think it was probably the part where Xavier reads his mind and then is like, oh, I see like orchards in China, and then it solidified a little further when Xorn was talking a little bit about like the specific part of China that he comes from, which that was a really
very interesting.
That set off a lot of things because it's really interesting the specific part of China that Morrison chose for this person to originate from.
Do tell. I agree, but for our listeners who are less intelligent than you, please tell us.
So me? Because I have no idea what Ray's about to say.
Yeah, Ray, if you could tell us, I mean, not to get into like the political details, but just which province was it? It was, if I recall.
So, Xorn says that, and this is misspelled in the comic. They spell it as Xianjing, so it's like Xinjiang, but I'm like, no, it's Xinjiang. Right. And it's called the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. So it's kind of like a province, but kind of not. But this is one of the most ethnically divided parts of China in existence, even in this was published in 2001. So the divisions have not been as prominent, but even by like the mid 2000s, you had this ethnic division between the dominant ethnicity of the Han and the Turkic minorities that made up a lot of the people in the region. So Uyghurs, Kazakhs, so on and so forth. It's definitely not the same culturally as cities that you usually think about in China. So like Shanghai, Beijing, so on and so forth. So it's a very, very unique place. Granted, he says that he grew up in the capital city, which is a little bit more like kind of mainstreamed, but it's really, really interesting. It's typically seen, Xinjiang in Chinese actually means new frontier.
I didn't know that.
Yep. It kind of has this kind of like weird, like manifest destiny sort of style. And a lot of it was sort of like the initial establishment of Han settlements and cities there was paved, the way was paved by the People's Liberation Army after Mao took over the government. And so this region has always kind of had this kind of dynamic. And I just thought it was really, really interesting that Morrison put this mutant character in a secret PLA facility there.
Yeah.
That, like, I'm not sure that, like, obviously it's not fair to expect them to know in 2001 what's going to happen in the region later. But it's that the fact that it's, like, you know, called the Uyghur Autonomous Region should, like, that's always been an indicator.
It makes me wonder. One of our hopes is, like, our completely irrational hopes is that, like, if we do a good job with this pod, maybe we'll get an audience with Morrison and can like ask these little dangling questions from this thread. But yeah, that's definitely one of the things is like, how much did they know about the plight of the Uyghurs and about what goes on with the Turkic minorities there?
Well,
or were they just thinking that it's new frontier and that felt thematically linked to?
Or they could have just spun the globe and put their finger down.
New X-Men and new.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I obviously can't answer on Morrison or any
No,
Marvel
none of us
editorial's
can. Yeah.
behalf, but yeah, this decision where, and this isn't just like made lightly. There's like a section later where they reference like a specific part of Xinjiang as like a location they remember from
Mm.
like childhood, and so that was really fascinating as a decision, but also like this idea of like, okay, like what was formative about this place to this character. And it's like, okay, so they're really leaning in on the sort of spiritualism of
Mm.
this character in the chapter, and
Hmm.
like I got a little bit of a sort of mystical Asian vibe that they kind of laid on a
No
bit thick.
shit. Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Like
even the cops are like, I don't know, it's some kind of Zen bullshit or something. Like,
I
Right.
was just like he was just like, oh, like these are, I was given the tools to set down thoughts and freeze them, and you just see him buying a journal. I'm like, come on, man, that's a journal. Like
It's cute. It's cute in its way, but yes, yeah.
that is a notebook, sir. And so it's like it's not really. I think a conversation with Josie prior was we were talking a little bit about how he was seen as some kind of representation for maybe Chinese American, well, not Chinese American, like Chinese characters, but I mean it's representation is always this kind of like tricky needle to thread because you never want to be like good rep, bad rep, because that doesn't really answer a whole lot of questions, but my impression is that Xorn kind of serves the X-Men story more than the other way around from this
Yes.
chapter.
Yes, very, very true to the overall arc. Zorn is there to get us to a conclusion with Magneto.
Yeah.
And
and again, it's
yeah,
so difficult to even talk about because, and this is what I would need to ask Grant, although who knows if, first of all, who knows if we'll ever talk to Grant, but also who knows if Grant has an answer, but like, is Zorn Magneto in this or not? Because all of these things we're talking about a childhood in China, is this a lie or is this true? And that kind of changes even the representation. I didn't mean to interrupt you both, but like
no, no,
for Ray, you
no.
were saying it definitely feels like, yeah, he has a role in the story
Yeah.
and feels a little functional as opposed to like a well-rounded character.
Well, I really
Yeah.
want, like, part of me wants some Marvel, like, Elseworlds AU, where you just give, like, a really good Chinese manhwa writer Zorn and say, it's not Magneto. Have fun with the idea of Zorn that was originally in this comic before you get the reveal. Like, Zorn,
So kind of like a Psylocke take.
Yeah.
no, well, yeah, like
Well, like how
what
Psylocke now is
Psylocke now,
separated
right?
from Captain Britain, I
Right,
assume
it's like
is what
what
you
does it
mean.
mean to
Yeah.
be
Yes.
what does it mean to be this body? What does it mean to be me? And I really think you're making these interesting points about the choices Morrison made to situate Zorn specifically in Xinjiang. Nowadays, my God, if somebody had the balls, no one would have the balls, but like it would be fascinating to do that story again. But this is like me saying how I want to do my Magneto Israel story, which will never get published, you know? There's just certain interests that don't really want you to rock the boat too much at Marvel.
Yeah. I mean, even some of the writing decisions in the issue itself, I don't think pass muster. Like, there's a part where this, like, Zorn is talking to this mutant kid, and he goes, "Oh, I have eaten dog once. It is not a capital
That
offense." And I'm like,
that
I
like
forgot
that
about that.
floored
Yes.
me, Ray. And like
That was something.
I'm not Chinese, but I was like, we're
Ooh.
doing this?
well,
Yeah.
I was gonna say there's a lot of things about that X-Men run that didn't age well, because like I read ahead a few chapters. There were a lot of children dropping the R word that really shouldn't have
Oh
been.
yeah.
So
Oh, you're
Yeah,
right.
we are going to address that in next week's
I
episode.
mean, I've seen it like I've seen that word used in like Hickman's Fantastic Four run, where I'm just like,
Yeah.
whoa, okay.
Oh,
So there's a lot of things that don't age well, and it's
for a
yeah,
long time, there was an interview with a now disgraced British comics writer that I did that was a huge star making interview for me because I managed to land him. And he
Mm.
used the R word in like the second sentence of the interview. And like I couldn't cut it out because it was like the thesis statement of the whole thing. And I was
Oh
like,
wow.
well, I guess I'm now hitching my wagon to this star. Comics, everybody. But yeah, the edgelordism of the aughts really led to a lot of poor editorial decisions. But what
Yes.
I'm curious what you make of the sort of they're kind of half-heartedly both doing like Mutant Town and Chinatown. And I'm curious what you make of sort of the Chinatown aesthetic that comes across. And, he has these conversations with residents of Chinatown, Zorn does.
Right.
I was curious what you made of that.
Like I said earlier, it feels like it kind of serves the story more than the other way around.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, one thing kind of gives me pause, and that's like the end of the chapter, which is when Zorn sort of leaves the scene with the mutant kid and the
Yeah.
the mom and the cops and all that. He kind of goes back to Chinatown. He like meets up with the old guy that sold him his journal. And then they just eat plain rice. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Put an
Ray,
egg
I
on
was
there.
going to ask you about that too. I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is gross. Like, no, you can't just.
Who's eating? That's like eating like that's just like unwrapping a loaf of bread and just eating the slices in the rain. And I'm just like, I was like, that's not noodles. I'm like, no, they're eating white rice. Like,
No, I'm not an expert, so I wasn't going to say anything if you didn't. Like,
See, okay,
like
I'm gonna be real with you.
Norm can't even eat for what it's worth.
I'm
So,
such a white person or white Jew with Ashkenazi gut that I'm that bitch who will go to a restaurant and say, just give me white rice because my stomach can't take any more than that today. So I just figured Zorn had some digestive issues at that moment. But you make a great point.
wait, how does he eat through the mask anyway?
he
Like,
can't. He doesn't have a head.
Oh, that's right. It doesn't even make sense because, yeah, there's nothing to
No,
consume.
no. So, Ray, if Zorn is Magneto, then underneath his head, he looks like Ian McKellen. But if Zorn is not Magneto, which we as readers have to assume, then it's established that Zorn does not have a head
He
under
has a
his mask. He
star.
literally just has a tiny star. So if he
okay,
takes off his mask, he looks like the cover of John Carpenter's The Thing. Like he's just like a human body with just like
I see.
Light shooting
a
out.
glowing orb where his head should be. So
Yeah,
the mask contains like the radiation that
Right,
would be
right.
his
I
star.
see. But also,
But he
it's
might be
like
Magneto again.
plain white rice. Like, come
I'm
on.
completely with you, Ray. Ray, I am not disputing that. I was just pointing out how stupid
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you
I
for calling
also
that.
will note that on the cover, you just have Zorn kind of staring really confusedly at a cheeseburger,
I don't
which
get that
A
either.
little racist.
but also I'm like, wait, if Zorn is Magneto, like Magneto can't eat the cheeseburger, right? Because that's not kosher. I don't know.
That's great. That is brilliant.
Maybe that's why he's looking skeptically at it. Maybe this was a
You
clue.
Ray, I'm so glad we had you on here. That is the most brilliant assessment of that cover I've ever seen.
Ray, as
Maybe he's
long as
gone back to Kashrut while he's pretending to be a Chinese person. Who knows?
Ray, as long as we're talking about all of this, what's the deal with Zorn's name? It's
Oh
not
yeah,
Chinese,
it's
right?
not Chinese,
I
right?
hate to just have
No,
you on to ask you Chinese questions. Like, but
it's
Like
not.
it's not Chinese, and if it were, it'd be
No.
pronounced Shorn.
Yeah, something
or
like that. We
Chorn?
tend to use no, it's like the X is typically like a sh
Right.
sound. Like for example, China's current Communist Party leader is Xi
Xi
Jinping.
Jinping, right.
Yeah.
So it like we typically don't use the sort of hard like X like xylophone.
Right.
So it's I don't know what it's named after. It seems more like
I think it just sounded cool.
maybe it's like related to like the astronomical part. I don't, it could have been like a project, like how like Logan is Weapon X. I don't
Oh,
know.
I
It could be
like
like a
that.
code name
Oh, it could be a code in Chinese. Now that's interesting.
or like a sort of naming.
But it's also his name,
Yeah.
I guess. But like,
I don't
who
know.
knows?
It's a sort of it's kind of a one-off thing that kind of gets subsumed once we find out it's a Magneto clone, etc.,
I
etc.
know. It's so. This is my
Yeah.
great frustration with this run is that like On the one hand, I get why Morrison does this because when you get to the reveal that Xorn was Magneto in real time in 2003, it completely blows minds. Like people don't know what to do. The fanboys and fangirls, such as they were back then, were really, really losing their shit because it's so unexpected. But at the same time, it's unexpected because it doesn't make any goddamn sense. You don't see it coming because why would you? And it kind of cheapens the earlier part of the run when you reread it.
You know what it's like? I always quote this. And again, we're going to talk about this so much, but there's a Halloween episode of Bob's Burgers, one of the first Halloween episodes, where Linda puts on a dinner theater for all of the guests, a dinner mystery theater, and she says, anyone could be the murderer except for me because I'm hosting the dinner theater. And then the reveal at the end is like, I was the murderer. It's a twist. And Bob is like, Linda, that's not a twist. It's a lie. There's a difference between a lie and a twist.
Yes. 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 Yes.
That's a really good point, and I will actually remember that because it seems like a valuable fiction writing hint.
It is, because if you just go, well, this isn't in the rules, but it happened anyway, then you can get away with that maybe once ever, It just, after that, you're just saying you have no respect for your reader.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if you don't give your reader any of the tools to maybe figure it out, then you're just withholding information from them until you don't.
Right. The only time I can think of that working, and I hate to credit a Joss Whedon show, but on Buffy when she fights the judge, and the whole thing throughout the episode is no weapon forged can kill the judge. And then at the end, she just takes out a bazooka and he says, how dare you? You know no weapon forged can kill me. And she says, yeah, that book was written a long time ago. And then she fires the bazooka and it blows him up.
See, that makes me think of it's like a really campy take on the whole Macbeth and no person of no person of woman born, and then he was born from a C-section.
Yeah, I guess that is you know what, you make a very good point. That was kind of Shakespeare doing not exactly a lie, but skirting it there,
there is a fine line between it. Obviously we all know Linda is wrong in Bob's Burgers, but it is a fine, because she's, a fool. But
Linda is my self-ID character on Bob's Burgers, so please, I will really appreciate it if you refer to her not as a fool.
But it is, if we do want to give Grant Morrison some credit, we see Charles and Xorn getting having a really deep, meaningful relationship, which you can argue is a clue that he's Magneto. Argue is a key word. Also, It is worth noting, I noticed it on this read through, Xorn's healing powers don't really seem to work in this. We see him, he's glowing and lying on top of the monster, which again is not, I don't have another word for it. The mutant.
When we say monster, we mean it praisingly in the Kirby sense, because it's very clearly John Paul Leon monster modeling this.
It looks mutant. It looks like Googum, son of Goom.
Right.
I thought the kid kind of looked like somebody was trying to make a T-Rex out of Play-Doh and didn't quite finish.
That's true too.
That was what a lot of Kirby monsters in the late 50s looked like. Just sort of some Play-Doh that was a little misshapen.
But he's lying on him and he's glowing, but he doesn't come back to life. And you can argue that's not what Xorn's powers do, but
he seems to be healing this guy on a stretcher.
Does he revive the horse? Does he? Yeah, but we don't know he's healing them because we don't see the results.
Yeah, we just see him trying. Yeah, does the horse come back?
No.
No, horse is just dead.
So there's no evidence that his healing powers work.
So maybe that's when the transfer happens, is right before of Living and Dying, because we have in Imperial, we have him actually straight up healing, but then again, he's Magneto. He could just be killing the nano sentinels with his magnetic powers. I don't know. Yeah,
but he also helps blow up the Shi'ar base which I guess maybe he could do using
magnetic
magnets.
powers.
How do they work?
I don't know. Magnets. How do they work? You are right. That is
really
the question.
want to see now. I want to see Magneto interact with Juggalos at some point because this needs.
You have $1 million pitch right there, Ray.
Yeah, take that to
Magneto
Marvel.
meets the Magneto Juggalos. That would be great. Just like a bunch of like Magneto was right types, except they're in clown face paint. I would love that.
And they're just like drinking Faygo.
Drinking Faygo, spraying him with it. Oh, what is this infernal beverage? Get it off of me. But anyway, Magnuggalos, my spouse just said.
Oh no. Oh no. That's so cursed.
This is the first time I've ever disliked your spouse, Josie.
Yeah, I just want you to know, Becca says this is the first time she's ever disliked you. Okay. Won't be the last. Anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's really interesting in here. We've covered mainly everything that happens. This is the trouble with talking about the one-shots. Ray, did you have other stray observations? We should, again, note, Bill Sienkiewicz and John Paul Leon on inks and pencils here, respectively. Gorgeous. It's just, and I guess Hi-Fi Design did the color. It's a really pretty issue. Even if the writing is sort of frustrating because of what we know comes next, or even what's in it, the colors especially, as much as I love John Paul Leon and Bill Sienkiewicz, whoever was working the colors on this, it's such a color story. The grimness, but still vividness of the apartment where the creature is staying. And then, it's just that first panel of the horse and the browns and the lights. And then that last panel, which again has a problem of they're just eating plain rice. But it's but like it just aesthetically.
I agree.
But aesthetically, it's quite pleasing. The steam coming off of the rice, the rain going down diagonally. It's just a beautiful issue. And I'm learning as I reread comics, and I've been doing a lot of rereading lately. I'm having one of my, oh, I like comics again phases, is a lot of the comics I revisit from my childhood, this go around, I'm okay with the fact that they're poorly written, because I kept going, oh, why did I like these comics? They're so badly written. I was being biased because I'm a writer. I liked those comics as they were pretty as shit, and you could completely lose yourself in the visual narrative and the visual world building. And this isn't exactly that, but I'm always out there telling people, you can go back and love the comics that had crappy writers. If the artists are good and the art is good, that's more than half of it.
True.
Anyway, that wasn't really a question. That was a rant.
I mean, I liked the lighting as a person that's kind of an amateur, but really into painting, like the lighting sources of all of the sort of splash panels and like big scenes, and the end shot with the gray lighting on the rice and the people. Like the work on that is very stunning. And visually, like the sort of clutteredness of Chinatown, I kind of like that. The set, like Chinatown has always been like this very, like it's been very, like there's a lot of people and businesses and signs like packed into a very small part of New York or any other city that has a Chinatown. DC has a crappy Chinatown because it's gentrified like to heck and back, but it is what it is.
I loved reading this because it brought me back. I've lived in Manhattan's Chinatown on 2 separate occasions for years. Right when I moved to New York, I lived on Pell Street, and then I lived on Madison Street years later, and it holds a very special place in my heart. I really love that place, and I miss it very dearly now that I'm in exile. And I have to say, some of these panels really did feel very much like that. Even Mutant Town felt like Chinatown. Like it just felt like that kind of community where you have a community. Like that's the thing that always struck me. I was in Chinatown and I was kind of not of Chinatown. I was a gentrifier, so I will completely recognize that. But like I would be walking around minding my own business and trying to be polite within this community that was a community. Like people knew each other. And I think this is a comic about human connection. It's a comic about this issue is a comic about the connection that comes from knowing that we're all going to die.
Speaking of Chinatown, though,
what?
And like Chinese Americanness, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong again, because I'm like a little bit more novice at the X, but they don't do enough with Jubilee, and I'm a little annoyed because I like her.
They both don't do enough, and they do far too much when they do things.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Oh
like Julie's
no.
a vampire canonically.
What?
Jubilee
Yeah.
has been consistently a vampire for about a decade, if not
Yeah,
no
it's been
more.
like 15 years almost now. It's
Yeah.
really crazy.
Okay.
She just remains a vampire. The fact that Jubilee is Chinese feels like it is never dealt with.
No, it's never dealt with. Not once.
Now I'm sad.
Like
Yeah. How do you think I feel about Magneto being technically somebody who made Aliyah and is a citizen of Israel? No one ever brings that shit up. But you know, whatever you're gonna do. It's just it's Marvel.
you also don't worry, Josie. You also have, so many other great Jewish characters like Sasquatch from Alpha Flight.
Ben Grimm, of course, the aforementioned Ben
Yeah, but
Grimm.
I had to choose the least incidental one.
That's right.
But
Kitty.
Kitty, I mean, yeah,
Kitty.
Kitty's the big one. I mean, Kitty and Ben are the big ones, but
Moon Knight.
sure.
Well, Moon Knight, at least one part of Moon Knight is Jewish. This is a pro-plural podcast, and I have very complicated feelings about Moon Knight. But yes, go on.
Oh, I do want to say, going back to the idea of Mutant Town, since we were talking about it, one of the things that we're going to see Grant do more of in this run, and we've already seen them touch on a little, is the idea of mutant culture. And
Yes.
we
And
heard,
mutants being hot now.
yeah, we heard a little bit about that like, that mutants were this sort of hated culture. People hate the mutants, but they love like mutant music and stuff, which felt very targeted to, like sort of how we talked about that in an earlier episode, sort of how we deal with a lot of different minority groups,
Yeah.
certainly, Black culture that gets appropriated, and also queer culture, which is, what I can talk the most about, being me. The one with blue hair and pronouns. But the fact of the matter is, we see that with the idea of Mutant Town, which also is a major part, I feel like, of the X Factor run that was going on around the same time as this. I feel like.
Oh, was it? I was checked out of the other X books because every time I tried to read one, I was like, this isn't consistent with what's happening in New X-Men. I'm confused.
I didn't care for it, but I think I'm correct. Someone
You
at
may
home.
well
What's
be
the
right.
difference between X Factor and X-Men?
Oh boy.
I'm sorry if I opened a can of worms.
No. That's a great question.
It's a question that has many answers.
It's a question that has many answers. It depends on the era of X Factor, but if we're trying to boil them down to their essence, I don't know that I can do that. The
Okay,
X-Men are
X-Men is a school and a superhero team.
Okay.
X Factor is corporate.
That's right. X Factor is either corporate or governmental. Yeah.
And X Force is an extrajudicial like strike team of murderers.
Okay.
Yes.
And Alpha Flight is Canadian.
And Alpha Flight is Canadian.
Right. Yes. You've got it all down. And Excalibur are British, and now you need to know. Oh, you know all you need to know.
Excalibur is British, but only 2 members of Excalibur are British.
Oh, yeah, I should have said that. Yes, that's a very important thing to remember, is that Britain is a country of immigrants, and Excalibur is living proof of that. So there you go.
Actually, is one of them Irish and not British?
I can't even remember who's in Excalibur off the top of my head.
Where is
the full lineup, that is.
Okay, well, we're going to leave that because it's not relevant.
Not relevant.
When X Factor is at its best, X Factor is either a critique on government agencies or corporate agencies, is sort of what it exists to be.
The idea is it's like, at its best, it's what happens when the powerful try to co-opt the less powerful into being part of their system. Because the X-Men are always sort of dancing on the edge in that it's a learning institution that's kind of coded, although in this run they come out in the open. But X-Factor, and then you've got like Magneto, who's just outright outside the system. And then you've got X-Factor on the other side, which is inside whatever system they're trying to critique. The writer is trying to critique, at least. So, yeah, but X-Factor is, and X-Force, is just like a death squad. It's a paramilitary death squad. I remember one of my favorite ads for X-Force when they were rebooting it at one point was, X-Men don't kill, ... These are not X-Men. Pretty sick, right?
That's kind of similar to this. I was like, right now I'm reading a lot of back issues of Fantastic Four, and like in the 90s, you know how like usually they have a tagline, World's Greatest Comic Magazine?
Yeah.
In the 90s, there was like this really edgy cover where they all have guns, and it's like, this isn't your parents' comic magazine.
I don't remember that one, but I believe you.
Did Sue have the...
Sue had the four
Yes!
boob window, yes.
That period, yes.
Well, don't worry, because it's later going to be revealed that Sue wasn't Sue. That Sue was...
Who was that Sue?
Was it Malice? Or
It's Malice. Yeah, I believe that Sue is Malice.
I was going to say, I couldn't remember if this was like them going way far back with like...
or at least
Skrull
one of the
invasion.
Malices. But anyway, going back to Mutant Town. I like the idea of Mutant Town. I really like that idea. And again, we're going to see some more explorations of that. I feel like I like Mutant Town a lot more than Krakoa. And I wish we got to see more exploring Mutant Town and the people who live there. But you guys know I'm just going to complain about Krakoa in every episode. But I don't like, and we were commenting on this before we started recording, there's a part where Xorn is like, there's no word for monster in any mutant dictionary.
I'm like, this
That
isn't
feels
Krakoa
like-
yet. We don't have mutant dictionaries.
That feels like a step too far. Krakoa, listen, one of my frustrations with Krakoa, not a language. Not a language.
No, it's just a codex.
It's a font.
It's a font.
They keep
You're
talking
right.
about it being a language. It is a font.
could you elaborate a little bit about that?
I can.
know a little bit of Krakoa.
In Krakoa, the mutants, in their attempt at separatism, developed their own language and alphabet. But really, it was just an alphabet where each of these symbols stood for each of the letters of the alphabet that you and I are familiar with. So it doesn't really count as a new language at that point.
So it's not like Korean where they made a new alphabet.
No, King Sejong was involved in this, and please, King Sejong is my homeboy. Korean orthography is arguably the single greatest achievement in human history. I would argue that King Sejong saying, we need a simple way for everybody to be able to read and write, and I'm just going to implement it. I'm going to get my experts to come up with a good way. They did. They implemented it. Literacy expanded. And I'm a big fan of reading because that's how I make my money. So I've always been very fond of that. What Hickman was going for was more of a comment on like modern Hebrew and conlangs, where you sort of go, okay, well, this is the reconstructed pure version of our ethnicity's language, our people's language, whatever. But because they wanted it to be a fun follow along at home thing, they couldn't make the language actually this was not Tolkien, like Hickman just comes up with different symbols for each letter of the alphabet and just spells
So it's like
words in
like
English.
the back of a cereal box.
Yeah, it's a little like a decoder ring, Ray. It's not so much like a language. They did not go full Klingon with this one, which was, you know what? I bet you anything Hickman wanted to, but it's not like comics has the resources to hire a linguist to come up with a new language for the mutants. They hardly have the resources to pay Jonathan Hickman.
I do have some thoughts on Mutant Town, though.
Tell us about Mutant Town. What do you think, Ray?
I also think that there could have been more breathing room given to sort of mutant culture. Like, obviously, they're inherent to the idea is you're going to have a lot of mixed families. There are a lot of families where, like, you just have someone born to, like, non-mutant parents. So it's like that sort of mixed society, they don't really talk about that. And also like the whole Krakoa thing where, it's like, oh, you're a mutant. You can, belong here. You don't talk to your parents. And it's like, or like you don't, you gotta go away from your siblings so it's like,
this is almost more of a sustainable model for integration and coexistence is something like Mutant Town rather than you have to have the X gene to even walk onto this land.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And it's like, and as an immigrant that's, struggled with a lot of questions of assimilation, diaspora community, etc. It's like, being isolated from like your people is a tough thing.
It really
and I
is.
think that like these types of concepts, especially with the X-Men and with mutants, I think you don't really think about it more. Like right now, I know that there's a lot of sort of controversy over Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, dying and then coming back as a mutant. And
Yeah.
so it's like one of the things I'm always thinking is like her family is so fundamental to her character. So her brother, her parents,
Yeah.
and her high school friends, they're just so fundamental. It's like Peter Parker Aunt May levels of fundamental. Like you do not like, and I worry that being on a lot of X-Men team missions and stuff kind of dilutes that family dynamic.
It 100% does. And by the way, I'm back. Thank you guys. I can't wait to listen to what I missed because it sounds like it's super interesting.
It was interesting. It was Ray talking about Mutant Town, but yes, go
One
on.
of the problems that I'm always talking about is the way that sort of the needs of the X books sort of dilute any sense of intersectionality about the characters. So Miss Marvel's sort of relationships as a Muslim will inherently be less important as she's part of a 10-person team that
Of
exists to,
mutants, yes.
punch sentinels. But yeah, it's why, and you may have said this, Josie, you may have said this, Ray, it's why I feel like it works better as a metaphor for like queerness than a race because of the fact that like
You can have two straight parents. Yeah.
your immediate
Right.
family members may not be of this same subculture as you.
Mm-hmm.
And you do sort of see like areas of the city where there
Yeah.
are, more queer people, and queer people often come to get away from their parents. But
Sure.
it's definitely something that is interesting, and I would have liked to have seen that explored more in this book than it honestly is. The mutant town. I mean, again, this is I think
Right.
the only time we see it in Grant Morrison's X-Men, at least.
No, I think we see it briefly when Jumbo Carnation gets assassinated, but like, yeah, not much.
Yeah.
So
So
I really like this idea that you were saying, Ray, about how Mutant Town is the alternative model for society, where you have a town, a section of town that's part of a larger city, where there's porous borders, but it is understood that that place has a pride in its sort of central demographic. That's better than Krakoa. I agree. That's just a better way of living society. And you're very wise to advocate for Mutant Town. So let's bring Mutant Town back, people.
We just one last question that I do want to ask you.
absolutely.
Very important.
Ray, is Wolverine hot? Hot or not, Wolverine?
Okay. I can't really say so because I absolutely am certain that Wolverine smells super weird. Like there's no
Oh,
that
that's
like
so real.
conceptually I guess so, but like it's like like this guy rips people with his claws all the time, and so it's gonna smell
Yeah.
funky, and I know he probably doesn't clean them that well.
No.
So that's a turn off for me.
So valid, Ray.
He's no Gambit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm a Gambit
I am
girly.
all about that. That is totally a valid answer. I think we can all conclude that in the room of the X Mansion where Logan lives, I know it smelled crazy in there.
Which, of course, on Krakoa is also Jean and Scott's room.
right.
And let me tell you something. You want to talk about an odd couple dynamic? There is no way Scott likes how it smells. There is no way Scott
No.
likes that.
He's got a sensitive little nose.
Ray, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. What's your take on that? It's a related question.
Because he looks like he smells less bad than
Yeah, he
comics
looks like he
Wolverine.
smells less bad.
Well, all I will say on this is one time I was at a Goodwill and I saw um I saw a DVD of Kate and Leopold where Hugh Jackman got credited with X-Men, and I believe Liev Schreiber got credited with Scream 3, which is crazy.
Well, he's not in the first X-Men Leave.
No, he's not in until X-Men Origins Wolverine.
No, he's in X2.
No, Leave's not in X2. He's not until X-Men Origins Wolverine, isn't he?
I just thought it was wild that they picked those two films for those two actors in terms
That
of
is pretty freaking wild to try and describe freaking Kate and Leopold. God bless.
and that was just like the sort of actors, like you may know that this guy from X-Men or Scream 3. I was
You are right. I take it back.
Yeah, Liev was introduced. Liev Schreiber is this the X-Men Origins Wolverine. This is the thing I'll leave you with. It's a very sad Jewish story because David Benioff, a nice Jewish writer who was then corrupted by his time writing Game of Thrones, wrote it, and Liev Schreiber, a nice Jewish boy, was signed on with the intent to play a very serious, interesting take on Sabretooth. And then X-Men Origins Wolverine happened instead. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah, very interesting nuanced take. Anyway, do we have
Sorry.
anything else we want to say, or should we start bringing this Blackbird in for a landing?
Ooh, I'm happy to land it if you're okay with that, Ray. Ray, where can people find you? If they're out there searching for more Ray content, where can they find your stuff? You have a wonderful newsletter, I know.
yeah, I can link that. I'm also working on a couple of freelance stuff, which I don't know if it will be out by the time, but I am working on something Fantastic Four related, and hopefully
Yes.
the edits can finish and we can see
Oh
that
my
in the
God, I hope
world.
we
But
can.
I can also drop my Blue Sky links and
Please, yes, just tell us what your Blue Sky handle is auditorially.
And we'll make sure it's written in the show
We'll
notes.
make sure it's written too. It's just people like hearing
sure.
the.
So my Blue Sky is Redder Bean Paste, Redder, and then bean and the word paste. It's a reference to a like a Chinese and Asian pastry filling. Because I loved baked goods, and so it's a reference to a popular pastry
I love
filling.
I
red bean paste. I'm
I was
familiar.
I was at I was at a conveyor belt sushi last week, and they had sesame,
Mm-hmm.
little
Yeah, the sesame
sesame
buns with the red
buns with
bean
red
and
bean
yeah.
paste. It was super
There's
good.
nothing better than that. It's just really
Mm-hmm.
good. So well done on the Blue Sky handle. Everyone go follow Ray and read the writings. Becca, where can people find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at Tall Girl Petunia, all one word. You can also find some of my writing about my other special interest, The Muppets, on toughpigs.com, and my Muppet podcast, which hopefully is out. Hopefully is. Who knows? The website's been giving us issues, but it's hopefully out. You can find on the Muppet Fan Podcasts with toughpigs.com feed. And that is, of course, A Prairie Dawn Companion, a podcast about the Muppets and feminism and the 1970s.
And you can find me on my personal website, which is Josie, Josie dot zone, Zone, like the Twilight Zone. And you can find me on Blue Sky at that exact string of characters, Josie dot zone. That is my username. And you can find this show's website at herecometomorrow.net.
Oh, and we're on Blue Sky at
Oh, right. Yeah, we haven't
herecometomorrow.net.
been shouting out the Blue Sky handle. That's silly.
Or
We are on
maybe
Blue
we
Sky.
have. These episodes are all out of order. I feel like I'm in an X-Men
Yeah, they're
comic.
all out of order, so maybe we'll go back and add that in. But you can follow us on Blue Sky at the show at herecometomorrow.net. That is the URL, and it is also the handle. So now, all of that said, we will catch you next week. What are we talking about next week, Becca?
Well, next week I'm pretty excited because we finally get to talk about the most important character of all, obviously my favorite character in the universe. I'm talking about Charlie Cluster the First, Phantomex, as we read
Phantomex.
the three Phantomex, the first bit of the Weapon 12, Weapon 13 saga. This is, of course, New X-Men issues 128, 129, and 130. We are super excited. We have a great guest lined up. It's Hugh Jackman.
Someday
So
people's gonna get mad at us for that. Not today, though. Today we're too charming.
no, exactly. And yeah, so I'm really excited to talk about Phantomex. Phantomex's brain is in a spaceship, and you're gonna hear all about it.
Oh, you certainly will. And remember, everyone, until then, burn away what doesn't work. Thanks
Thanks,
so much.
everybody.